Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Charting Man Dan with the Chart Guys, and we are going to check in on crypto, coin, some of the stocks, some of the altcoin setups that I'm watching for the rest of the week. And we have Bitcoin currently seeing consolidation. We broke the wall at 38,000, but did not get any follow through. And whenever you get a bull break without follow through or a bear break without follow through, that for me means scout a wedge. So starting to keep an eye on a rising wedge, but really, it's just a visual guide. What we care most about are our price levels. So this is how I had the rising wedge over the weekend to be keeping an eye on. But really, if you look at the daily, if we want to keep it simple, if we hold 35.6 thousand, the daily uptrend remains intact. If we lose that level, we lose the daily uptrend. So we can see we topped out at 38, higher low, double top, another higher low at 35.6. Bull break, no follow through. And so now the bulls are trying another daily higher low. So bulls are tiring a bit for sure, but they are keeping control. And that's one thing that the broader market is doing as well. If you look at the S&P 500 futures chart, it has been only bulls. It's like the bears don't exist anymore, but it's been a month of that. And you can see, yeah, bulls are tiring. We're not shooting up over the last week of trading. But the bears literally have not proven one thing. And what we're seeing on our futures chart is backburners right now, where we had first hourly oversold conditions, market daily higher low, and bull flag into continuation. And then this morning we had hourly oversold conditions, and the bulls have bought the dip since then. And they're trying to form another quick little daily bull flag in response to hourly oversold conditions. So we know if we head higher from here and do see continuation, that it will be showing us these are the characteristics of a bull market. These are back burners resulting in very brief minimal consolidation that then lead into continuation. So again, if you're a crypto bull, you want to see the broader market continue this all-out bull control as we continue to look up towards the NASDAQ all-time highs, which are 3 or 4% away, and the S&P 500 all-time highs a bit further to go, but definitely in the conversation. Curious what the actual percentage is at this point. Roughly just under 5%. So what does Bitcoin need for a daily higher low to shape up? We need a 4-hour trend change to the bulls. And you can see we have the 4-hour EMA 12, which acted as support a little bit. It's now acting as resistance a couple of times, but we need a big enough bounce to confirm a 4-hour higher low and higher high. We know weekly consolidation will be inevitable, and a bunch of altcoins have already seen weekly consolidation take place sometime in the last couple of weeks. Some of them have even seen continuation, a weekly higher low into a higher high. But again, we have to have the mindset for Bitcoin. We will not be surprised in the slightest when we see weekly consolidation from here. We've seen a higher low every single week, 6 weeks in a row. We've gone up 30% since then. And weekly consolidation can potentially be healthy. If we pull back and hold EMA 12, I know as a bull, that would make me a lot more comfortable looking for long swing entries on a weekly higher low, whether it's here or in some of the crypto stocks we'll talk about in just a second. So don't fear weekly consolidation if you're a bull. We just have to observe it and say, are there red flags? Is there increasing bear volume? What's the retracement size on the weekly consolidation? But for the short term, for the rest of the week, it's just a question of, is weekly consolidation shaping up or not? And I'm sure a lot of people who use RSI divergence are talking about this daily RSI, which has been setting lower highs consistently for quite some time now. But for me, it's the daily uptrend. And bears hope for another push down. And then even if we hold support, there's the possibility that we form a lower high and lower low from there. But at this point in time, bulls don't have a ton to worry about. The only concern is, okay, we had a clear resistance at 38,000. We broke it with zero follow through, and that could lead to the weekly consolidation that we know is inevitable. Coin is a massive bull. So coin significantly turned things around over the last 2 weeks of trading. And it had a back burner as well. Last time we had daily consolidation, this was hourly, first oversold conditions. It marked the daily higher low into a massive continuation move. What the bulls and technical analysts really like about coin is the lack of resistance here. This is a year and a half we've been trading in this range, And you can see after the double top, 116, 114, we are now back over that level. Where's the next resistance? Well, the next clear level with such little price history and a free fall drop, really its previous support, now resistance, 150. There's very minimal resistance in this range. And this reminds me, talked about this over the weekend. This is a Chinese EV stock, has nothing to do with crypto, but it was all bears after its IPO. We built a base of support where we had a horizontal zone. And once we cleared those levels, it was the highest price in X number of months. And then we broke and quickly saw 100% follow through. So bulls certainly like the lack of resistance overhead. That being said, we're extended here. We're way stronger than Bitcoin today. Bitcoin right now is, 2% under where we were trading Friday, whereas coin is up 4 or 5% over where we were trading on Friday. So that relative strength is really clearly standing out. But it's a daily stair-step pattern. It's a higher low every single day for 9 days in a row. And part of the unusual trading activity that's been going on in the stock market since we bottomed a month ago is these stair-step patterns. JP Morgan, again, this is unrelated, but just want to show you the strength of the stock market. JP Morgan just saw a 19-day stair-step pattern, a higher low every single day for 19 days. I doubt that's ever happened before. I'm not going to go back and look, but it's rare. Netflix just did it for 18 days in a row. It's extremely rare to see that kind of full bull control every single day. And there's a number of names doing it, and now Coin is doing it over the last 2 weeks. So we have a lot of space to continue doing it. The low of today is multiple percent to the downside, 5% to the downside to get to the low of today. Eventually, we're going to see daily consolidation in coin. We're going to look for a daily higher low. We're going to watch for first hourly oversold conditions. Eventually, we're going to look for a weekly higher low. But for now, bulls have complete control, and we'll see how long they can keep that daily stair step going. What are targets? I don't even really have any targets. 132.81 is a little dinky resistance level. Not a very meaningful level, but something to be keeping an eye on just because there's nothing else really nearby. And the daily stair step is our guide. The other names, the miners, Riot and MARA, they're holding on okay, but they're still way weaker. They don't compare to coin, and we're nowhere near our summer highs. Again, Bitcoin is 20% plus over the summer highs, and these stocks are still 80% away. MARA needs like an 80% move to get up to that high. So maybe they'll act as laggards, but certainly not seeing the same kind of follow through that coin is seeing. So keeping an eye out for weekly lower highs eventually in these minor stocks and watching for a coin daily higher low. Essentially, with how these names are trading right now, I'm looking at coin if I want a bullish entry, and I'm watching for a weekly lower high on these minor stocks if Bitcoin gives us signs that it's shaping up weekly consolidation. ETH, I like the 2-day time frame for clarity. So we had a double top at daily resistance and a pretty convincing rejection so far. So we rejected right off the high of 2137 and 2134. And so now we're going to look for a higher low compared to where we came from. And I would not be surprised to tighten up most of this week. Unless we start to see some pretty notable bear volume, we're going to anticipate the higher low, then a lower high. Next thing you know, it's going to be heading into this coming weekend in a continued tightening range. But the burden's on bulls. To prove to us that they can set that 2-day higher low, we'll have to see the 4-hour trend change, and we can see relative weakness. The fact that we're at the low right now, and Bitcoin is not at its low right now. Bitcoin's not necessarily strong, but again, ETH is clearly weaker. And ETH BTC, the 2-day time frame is what we've been watching. And we're just tightening up in a good old-fashioned equilibrium. And we're going to look for a higher low here, anything above 5266. And the direction that this tightening range eventually breaks, again, potentially after this coming weekend, knowing that every candle here is 2 days, we could pull back for another candle, then we bounce for a candle or two. Again, then you're in the weekend. But keeping a close eye here, because if ETH BTC is going to hold this long-term low, this is the 3-month time frame. If we're going to hold that long-term low, baby step number 1 is that 2-day equilibrium must break bullish. If there's going to be any hope to form a long-term tightening range and hold this support. So we're going to be watching that ETH/USD and BTC. Going to be watching both of them for today. Tightening ranges to break. So we had some back burners again. The last time we checked in, Uni was a lead bull leading the way. We then started daily consolidation. So again, the back burner comes into play when you hit fresh highs and see a lot of follow through. And so we went up 37% on Uni, and we broke to a higher high by a very significant amount of 17%. And so then what? We look for first hourly oversold. So we get first hourly oversold, it leads to an 8% bounce. And that set a daily higher low. There's not a lot of follow through if we drop down and break that low. So here's the example of, if you're playing a back burner, number one, 15-minute RSI was crushed when hourly RSI was oversold. That's a good thing. That makes me confident to know at least a 15-minute oversold bounce will likely be shaping up shortly after my entry, even if I'm too early for the hourly. And that allows me to position. But let's just say, you don't nail the bottom. Let's say you're in at 590. So you're in at 590 into this flush. We then get the bounce, 15-minute uptrend confirmed. Okay, we zoom out to the hourly. And then, how much do I need to go break even and risk free? So if I'm in at 590 and I want to put my stop under 580, I could sell half at $6 psychological resistance. I could sell a third at 610. It all depends on how much space you're going to give the bulls to bounce before you look to take some profit. We had an hourly stair-step pattern all the way until 614. But the bottom line is, this is the kind of scenario where if you're trying to grab a swing position, you do so in back burner conditions, you sell partial, you stick your stop under the low, and so that means that worst case scenario, you stop out and we head to weekly consolidation likely shaping up. Best case scenario, this tightening 4-hour range breaks bull, that's the daily high or low, your break-even point is the daily support, and we try and head back to the recent high of 661. So again, just like the S&P 500 futures is giving us back burners, Coin gave us an hourly back burner. We're in a back burner market environment, and the way that we play back burners is keep doing it until it stops working. Eventually, hourly oversold results in a lower low, and we don't get that kind of follow through. But we're not there at this point, certainly not in the stock market, and not on the lead bull names. Obviously, there's weaker names, names that are in tightening daily ranges. We're about to look at a bunch of those. Those are not back burners because they're in constricting ranges. You have to be coming from a breakout to be looking for the back burner trade. So the two daily charts that I really like for their tightening ranges, ADA being one of them, high, low, lower high, higher low, lower high. Again, if I'm an aggressive bull, there's two ways to trade this equilibrium. Well, three ways. If I want to be an aggressive bear, I short at resistance. If I want to be an aggressive bull, I long heading towards support, and I put my stop under support. And if I want to be patient, I wait for the break. There's less favorable risk and reward if you're waiting for a break. Obviously, the downside would be a break with no follow through. But this is a tightening range on ADA that's been forming for 2 weeks. If it breaks bull, we get another leg up and we look towards 46 resistance. If it breaks bear, it's the weekly consolidation. So it can definitely break both ways, but I really like the nice tightening range here. If I'm looking at ADA, I'd like to see 4-hour oversold conditions. Get us nice and close towards daily support so that my risk is then smaller because my stop loss is closer. And then ideally, 4-hour oversold will mark a daily high or low. And I can then try and position to get risk free. Link is another one. Tightening daily range, 2 weeks plus in the making. All about 1324 support. If we get closer, we'll be in 4-hour oversold conditions, perhaps. So again, aggressive bulls are scouting for daily high or low entries in a lot of names. Some of them have tightening ranges, but even the ones that don't have tightening ranges, the weekend, this past weekend with the holiday, it was clear that bulls were focusing on gaming coins. AXS, huge move up off of its consolidation. We ended up going plus 37% in 6 days. That's very clearly a volume climax and a bearish reversal candle. So we're going to be looking for a 4-hour higher low on AXS off EMA 12 to try and form now. Did we get to 15-minute oversold? So here's 15-minute oversold conditions trying to mark a 4-hour higher low off EMA 12. Bulls have to get over 678 for that to be the case. So this is a back burner attempt in the making. And then if that confirms, we're going to zoom out and scout a 4-hour lower high as the most likely result of that bounce because of the size of the pullback we've seen at this point. We can go up 10% from here and not hit a higher high. So it was a pretty significant amount of retracement. But while AXS was doing that and just V-shaped to higher highs, and again, it was 4-hour back burner, first 4-hour oversold conditions, marked a weekly higher low into continuation. Again, that's best case scenario for the bulls. When an oversold scenario on a shorter term time frame leads to a longer term higher low. But Mana and Sand were trying to benefit from that gaming attention as well. So Sand had a big bounce, clear daily downtrend, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, big bounce. And so now these names they do have space for a daily higher low. So Sand, anything above 364 is a daily higher low, and Mana, anything above 374 is a daily higher low. So there are, not only on Bitcoin are we looking for a daily higher low, but there's altcoins that have way more space than Bitcoin in terms of percentage. So at least in the short term, we're scouting these daily higher lows. Bigger picture, there are definitely some bear setups to be scouting as well. The bear setups, RNDR is another tightening range, watching for $3 support to try and hold for a higher low to see if we're going to continue tightening up. If I'm looking bearish, I want it to be on a name where a daily lower high is the most likely scenario. And so Atom, daily higher low is the most likely scenario. A ton of space created over the last 5 bull days. But where's a name where a lower high is most likely? I don't know. APT, potentially one of them. Retracement size, we've given back 75% of the last move up that we've seen. So even if we hold this base of support in the 670s, it's possible that it results in a daily lower high. So again, look for the names that have retraced significantly if you want to have a bear lean. There aren't a ton of them. Again, most names are looking for daily higher lows. Algo potentially tightening up. It's a lot of tightening ranges forming. In an ideal world, we tighten up into the weekend, and then that tells us next week a lot of volatility is coming to crypto when all these tightening daily ranges break. But not going to predict that we're going to tighten up all week. We're going to take it one day at a time as always, but can definitely see the path forward where that would be a possible scenario that takes shape from here. Binance, definitely one of the weaker coins still. So anything under 239 will be a lower high next bounce. Certainly lots of headline drama. And that's, another factor for coin. The more exchanges that get into trouble, the more bullish that is for coin, the stock, just in terms of, becoming the only major name in town for onboarding new people into crypto. And also the fact that, anytime there's significant volatility, fundamentally speaking, that coin is racking up the fees from people trading altcoins. When things are boring and volume's low, their revenue is much lower. And when things are volatile, like the last 6 weeks, that their revenue is much higher in that volatility. All right. Just checking in on the stock world real quick. Still pulling back a bit. Keep an eye on those metals. Not going to talk about it here. Gold, silver, miners. Proximity to all-time highs for gold is definitely enticing. All right. USTC. So people have been trading this wild mover recently. I don't know the fundamentals behind it. Some people hoping that it pegs back to $1. That's all I know. But obviously a ton of volatility and we had a 4-hour stair-step bear break at 6 cents. Obviously, a ton of follow-through from that. Again, stair steps, they seem so elementary. Like, no way is it that easy. But then you see how many times, well, if I just acted on the stair step, the trade would have worked out. And it happens often. I use stair steps for swing trades and stocks. Again, my example is just JNJ on the weekly. I longed it back here when the forever stair step finally broke. So it's worth paying attention to. But what do we look for now on USTC? I would be real cautious calling this a back burner. Again, it's so volatile. It's an hourly stair step drop. Next time we bounce, we're going to look for an hourly lower high to be the result of that bounce. It's a potential 2-hour head and shoulders forming, where this would be the right shoulder. So if you forced me to look in a direction right now, I'm looking long for an hourly bounce, but then just looking for an hourly lower high to be the result of that bounce. And, you know, this 2-day pump definitely qualifying as a dump as well at this point. And you go to the 12-hour time frame. At this point, bulls are just hoping for a longer-term higher low and then a tightening range. But just be really cautious with your stop losses on something like this. Because, again, it can go wild in both directions. What's up, Breaks? Thanks, Dave. Love you, too. Rune. Haven't looked at Rune in a bit. So Rune is looking for a daily high or low, anything above 486. And again, I would just be treating this as an equilibrium, scouting that higher low once it's set, anything under 609. Clearly the most common thing that's happening in crypto right now is tightening daily ranges. The tighter the better. The tighter we get, the more likely we see follow through in the directions that the breaks occur. So Rune is trying for the daily high or low. We need the 4-hour to break bull here and confirm the uptrend. And it's a little bit of an inverse head and shoulders type of pattern. But if we can confirm it, daily high or low set, zoom out, look to daily resistance, and watch for it to continue tightening up. What would tell us that these tightening ranges are not forming, again, would be unusually high volume. If volume stays under our 20-day average, then tightening range is the most likely scenario. I don't know what a T-share is. Thanks, End Times. Had a good Friendsgiving. It's entirely possible that Bitcoin is due for weekly consolidation. I mean, we know it is due. It's just whether we get another leg up first. Adam, what am I looking at? Hourly. So clear hourly downtrend. Bear flag confirmed. Bear flag testing the low. So 907. Technically it broke. Let's see if it's a bear break with no follow through. We're looking for a daily high or low. Anything above 817 is most likely. So I'd just be using the hourly downtrend as a guide. That hourly bounce, technically, I guess, well, no, I wouldn't call it a back burner because it was a big bull move, absolutely, but it's not a breakout. We're still contained on the daily chart. So that's not, this is where you come for a back burner, not when you're in a tightening daily range. So again, just remember that. Am I coming from a breakout? Big bull move, not a breakout. But anyways, we're watching the hourly downtrend as our guide, and eventually it will bounce and then look for a 4-hour lower high to be the most likely result of that bounce. And we need to see the bulls shape up a 4-hour uptrend for the daily high or low to be set. So we haven't even started a bounce at this point. And a lot's going to depend on whether Bitcoin drops to a lower low here or see some 4-hour bounce follow through. And right now, Bitcoin holding on a bit better than some of these alts that are at their lows right now, ETH included. Just tested and held it. So if Bitcoin holds the current low and keeps bouncing, we're going to anticipate that any altcoins that just hit a fresh low of consolidation won't see much follow through, if any. TRB. Tightening hourly range here, just a little mini equilibrium. If it breaks bull, we zoom out to the 4-hour and scout a 4-hour lower high. This is definitely one of the weaker names in the sense that we're on the verge of confirming a weekly downtrend. Quick little lower high, and now 77.39 actually already happened. Technically, we're in a weekly downtrend. That's a lower high and a lower low. So now what? Now we're watching for first 12-hour oversold conditions, which are approaching. Next support, not a ton established on the way up, but 68 to 70 has a little range there. But again, out of anything that I've looked at in a long time, this is one of the weakest names. And what stood out? That is massive bear volume coming from the top. Just compare it to the bull volume. That 1-day drop is like the last 3 bull days of volume combined. Sol's getting ready for a potential weekly consolidation. It did not have nearly as big a bounce on this daily move. But again, it is still just a tightening range. Go to the 2-day, and we've got a low, high, double bottom, lower high. We're just tightening up. Key support, there's a base at 51. If we hold 51, we're going to keep on tightening. Clear little top at $60. So if you're a swing trader on Sol, all you care about is $60 resistance and $51 support. And we're right in the middle of that range right now, a little bit closer to support than resistance. Do I pause after a losing trade? Good question. It depends. If it's a day loser amount, I've got a goal. I've got an amount that I want to make on the day. And if I make that amount, it doesn't necessarily mean I stop trading if I win that amount. But if I lose that amount, I stop trading. It stops you from going on tilt. It stops you from getting in a negative feedback loop and using more size and just going on tilt. So if I stop out break even, if I stop out with a half-day loser, I'll keep trading. If I have a day loser, you got to cut it. It's like the analogy I use is you're playing basketball, the other team goes on an 8-0 run, 10-0 run, you call a timeout and you break that momentum. Call a timeout on your trading, come back the next day or a couple days, and don't allow that negative momentum to build. All right, just a couple more here. Again, PYR, tightening daily range. Key support base, 550 to 568. We've got 3 bottoms in that range, and we're approaching, heading back into that support range. If it breaks bear, weekly consolidation underway. If it holds, we keep tightening. Bears will have to increase volume if we're going to take out that support zone. In the absence of increasing volume, look for the daily ranges to continue to tighten. Rose had a tight daily range, break bull, so weekly continuation. Resistance 8591. So same thing I talked about with coin. If you clear that level, you don't have any nearby resistance from the last year plus until 11.6. It opens things up a bit. But this is a very clear resistance range that has rejected the price a few times that we are now battling. So bulls hope that this is just a healthy daily high or low to keep battling that resistance. Watch the retracement size. If we retrace more than half of this move, then it's a red flag. So if we pull back 50% plus, that then starts to be a red flag. But it's still healthy daily consolidation at this point. Watch the response to first hourly oversold conditions. Can that mark a daily high or low, showing that bulls are still aggressively buying the dip? KAS, last one. Tight in daily range. Looking for the bulls to hold 11.5. If they do, it's just a picture-perfect equilibrium. 4-hour trend change back to bulls needed for daily higher lows to shape up. So again, with where we stand right now, the play is to look for daily higher lows, in my opinion. Obviously, a few days ago, the play was to look for lower highs on names where that was most likely. But if we set daily higher lows today or tomorrow, then there's possibility of lower highs and continued tightening maybe Wednesday, Thursday. But as always, one day at a time, the burden's on bulls to regain 4-hour uptrends to shape up daily higher lows. And obviously, we have to see Bitcoin do that as well. Bitcoin needs a big enough 4-hour bounce. One other, I'll end with this. So let's say I don't want to enter into weakness. My Bitcoin support is 35.6. I don't want to enter here and use that as a stop loss. That's too much risk. A patient bull can wait for a big enough 4-hour bounce on an altcoin or Bitcoin or whatever, and then say, all right, that's bulls proving it to me. That's either the daily higher low or I'm wrong. And so I enter on 4-hour consolidation. I use this level as my stop to have much less risk. And then we either confirm the 4-hour uptrend and I have a good entry for the daily higher low, or we break support and I stop out with much less risk. So again, whenever you ask for looking for an entry or exit or whatever, it's are you aggressive or conservative? You can just break it down into those two paths, and that determines your strategy. It determines the time frame you're on. It determines on your strategy. An aggressive bull right now is entering into hourly or 4-hour oversold conditions, scaling in to scout that daily higher low. A patient bull is intentionally missing the first bounce to then say, all right, that's enough for me to scout the higher low and play off that level with the assumption that that's the daily higher low or I'm wrong. All right. Appreciate you all tuning in. This is our last day for the Black Friday sale for our annual membership for anybody interested. Otherwise, we got to wait a whole nother year. Hope you all have a good rest of your Monday. Watch those tightening daily ranges. Watch the volume. In the absence of high volume, tightening daily ranges become the more likely scenario. Bulls must confirm 4-hour uptrends for daily higher lows to be set. It's possible we tighten up into the end of this week. Lay those game plans out. Are you going to stop out before weekly consolidation? Are you going to sit through weekly consolidation in long positions? Do you have cash on the sidelines to make entries for weekly higher lows? Lots to think about in this game. And most importantly, do good things.